The massive crystal halls of Zephyria Prime had never seen such a gathering. 12 different alien species sat around the circular council chamber, their representatives glowing under the strange purple light that filtered through the planet's atmosphere. The air itself seemed to hum with tension, as military advisors from across the galaxy presented their final reports. General Krex of the Vorthak Empire stood at the center podium, his reptilian scales gleaming as he gestured toward the holographic display floating above them. The three-dimensional map showed human territory spreading like a cancer through what the Council considered their rightful space. Red dots marked human colonies that had appeared seemingly overnight on worlds the aliens had claimed for centuries. "The human problem has reached critical mass," Krex announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 different star systems. "In just 18 months, they have established illegal settlements on 43 worlds. They ignore our territorial markers. They refuse diplomatic contact. They simply take what they want." War Prophet Zal of the Luminari floated beside the display, her ethereal form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. Her species had predicted the outcomes of galactic conflicts for over 3,000 years, and their battle site had never been wrong. "The patterns are clear," she whispered, her voice echoing strangely in the chamber. "Humanity follows no recognizable expansion model. They spread without logic, without planning. It defies all mathematical probability." The other council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The insectoid hive speaker clicked its mandibles nervously, while the crystalline architects hummed in harmonic disapproval. Every species represented here had fought wars before, but they had always been civilized affairs conducted according to ancient protocols and honor codes. Admiral Vex of the Aquatic Confederation raised one of his four arms. "Perhaps we underestimate their primitive cunning. Our intelligence suggests they barely achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago. How can such a young species pose any real threat to our combined might?" Krex's eyes narrowed as he manipulated the hologram to show detailed scans of human vessels. "Look at their ships. Crude metal hulls welded together from mining equipment. No energy shields, no plasma weaponry. Their largest vessels are converted cargo haulers. By any reasonable military analysis, one of our frigates could destroy 10 of their best warships." The War Prophet's form solidified as she moved closer to the display. "Yet they continue to expand. Every system we expect them to avoid, they enter. Every world we think they cannot possibly want, they colonize. Their behavior suggests either supreme confidence or complete madness." Deep in space, millions of miles away from the Council's deliberations, Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, humanity's largest warship. The vessel had started life as a deep space mining platform before military engineers welded armor plating to its hull and mounted whatever weapons they could manufacture. Jake looked out at the stars through reinforced viewing ports that still bore the manufacturer's labels from their previous life as cargo bay windows. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Commander Rachel Kim from the communications station. "It's coming from multiple sources simultaneously," Jake nodded grimly. They had been expecting this contact ever since human scouts reported massive alien fleet movements throughout the sector. "Put it through, Rachel. Let's hear what they have to say." The main display flickered to life, showing the interior of the council chamber on Zephyria Prime. General Krex's imposing figure dominated the screen as he began speaking in perfectly translated human English. "People of Earth and her colonies, I am General Krex, Supreme Military Commander of the Galactic Council. Your species has violated the territorial sovereignty of 12 established civilizations. You have ignored our diplomatic overtures and continued your illegal expansion into claimed space." Jake crossed his arms as he listened, noting how every human on the bridge maintained their positions with quiet professionalism. They had known this moment would come eventually. Therefore, the Council has reached a unanimous decision. You have 72 hours to evacuate all human presence from systems beyond your original solar system. Failure to comply will result in immediate military action designed to remove humanity as a threat to galactic peace. The transmission shifted to show the alien armada assembling at the edge of human space. Jake felt his stomach drop as the sensors calculated the sheer scale of what they faced. 50,000 alien warships in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and bristling with weapons technology that humanity could barely comprehend. War Prophet Zal's voice joined the transmission, her ethereal tone somehow more terrifying than Krex's direct threats. Our battle site has calculated the probable outcome of this conflict. Human resistance will collapse within 6 hours of engagement. Your primitive vessels cannot withstand our combined firepower for more than 3 hours of actual combat. The display showed detailed analysis of human military capabilities compared to alien technology. Energy weapons that could slice through human armor like paper. Shields that deflected any projectile humanity could produce. Faster than light tactical systems that allowed instant repositioning during battle. This is not a negotiation, Krex continued. This is a final warning. The Council has assembled the largest military force in recorded galactic history. Surrender now, and your species will be relocated to suitable worlds under Council supervision. Resist and humanity will be eliminated as a threat to civilized space. Jake watched as the transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. He looked around at his crew, seeing the same mixture of fear and determination in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. Rachel, get me Admiral Rodriguez on priority channel. Tell her we need an emergency council of war within the hour. He paused, staring out at the stars that suddenly seemed much more dangerous than they had an hour ago. And send word to all human settlements. They need to know what's coming. As the crew hurried to carry out his orders, Jake remained at his command station, calculating impossible odds in his head. 50,000 alien ships against fewer than 800 human vessels. Technology that was centuries ahead of anything Earth could produce. An enemy that had studied human tactics and found them wanting. The aliens expected humanity to surrender or die within hours of battle beginning. Looking at the tactical displays showing their overwhelming advantages, Jake had to admit their confidence seemed entirely justified. But something deep in his gut told him the aliens might be in for a surprise. Humans had never been good at following other people's expectations. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood in the command center deep beneath Denver's Rocky Mountains, surrounded by screens showing data from across human space. The underground facility had been built during Earth's first expansion into space, designed to coordinate mining operations on distant worlds. Now it served as humanity's war room, filled with officers who looked far too young for the impossible task ahead of them. Give me the numbers again. Colonel? Lisa said to the man standing beside the main tactical display. Colonel Ben Tucker pulled up the latest reports on his tablet. We have 743 combat-capable vessels spread across 28 systems. Most are converted civilian ships with basic armor and whatever weapons we could mount on them. The aliens have over 50,000 ships, each one technologically superior to our best warships. Lisa nodded grimly as she studied the display showing human fleet positions scattered throughout their territory. Unlike the alien armada gathering in perfect military formation, human ships were spread thin across dozens of worlds, protecting colonies that couldn't be evacuated in time. What about protocol chaos? She asked. Are the preparations complete? Ben's weathered face showed a mixture of determination and uncertainty. All human vessels have received the new tactical instructions. Every ship captain understands they're not expected to fight like a traditional military. The mining crews, cargo haulers, and civilian volunteers all know their roles. Dr. Amy Carter looked up from her research station where she had been analyzing alien communication intercepts and tactical data. Her expertise in xenobiology had made her invaluable in understanding their enemies, even though she had never expected to use her knowledge for military planning. I've completed the psychological profiles on all 12 council species, Amy announced, turning her screen so the others could see her findings. Every single one of them evolved on worlds with predictable seasons, stable ecosystems, and logical social hierarchies. Their military doctrines reflect this background. She pointed to detailed charts showing alien battle formations and tactics. The Vorthak fight in perfect geometric patterns because their homeworld's predators hunted in organized packs. The Luminari use meditation techniques to coordinate attacks because their species developed collective consciousness. Even their most advanced technology follows predictable mathematical principles. Lisa studied the information with growing interest. What does this tell us about how they'll expect us to fight? They assume every intelligent species will fight logically, Amy explained. Formation warfare, technological superiority, overwhelming force applied systematically. They've studied human military history and concluded we'll follow standard tactical doctrine because that's what every civilized species does, Captain. Ryan Phillips entered the command center carrying a data pad filled with ship modification reports. His engineering background had made him essential to humanity's desperate preparations over the past 72 hours. Every human vessel in space was being retrofitted according to his specifications. The modifications are complete on 600 ships so far, Ryan reported. We've mounted nuclear mining charges on cargo haulers, converted asteroid processing equipment into weapons, and installed ramming reinforcements on every vessel that can carry them. The crews think we've lost our minds. Maybe we have, Lisa replied. But conventional warfare against those odds would be suicide anyway. At least this gives us a chance to surprise them. Lieutenant Commander Kate Thompson coordinated communications with human colonies throughout their territory. Her job had become increasingly difficult as panic spread among civilian populations who knew they were about to face the largest military force in galactic history. The outer colonies are requesting permission to surrender individually, Kate reported. They're saying it's better to save lives than fight an unwinnable war. Some settlements are already preparing to evacuate. What are you telling them? Lisa asked. Kate's expression hardened. That humanity doesn't negotiate surrender while we still have ships that can fight. Every colony that wants to evacuate can do so. But we won't abandon our territory without making the aliens pay for every system they take. Across the room, communications officers intercepted alien transmissions discussing human preparations. The enemy fleet commanders seemed puzzled by human activity patterns that made no apparent military sense. They're calling our ship movements chaotic and unorganized, one officer reported. General Kreck sent a message to his fleet commander saying humans appear to be panicking rather than preparing for organized resistance. Good, Lisa said with satisfaction. Let them think we're confused and desperate. The more they underestimate us, the better our chances become. Dr. Carter pulled up more analysis of alien psychology. There's something else important about their mindset. Every council species values honor, protocol, and civilized warfare. They have rules about targeting civilian ships, avoiding excessive casualties, and conducting battles according to ancient traditions. Rules we don't follow, Ben observed grimly. Exactly. They expect us to fight honorably because that's what every spacefaring civilization does. But humans developed warfare on a world where survival mattered more than honor codes. We fight to win, not to look civilized while losing. Ryan showed them footage of human ship modifications taking place in orbital shipyards. Civilian vessels were being converted into weapons platforms using whatever materials could be found. Mining equipment became artillery, cargo holds were filled with explosives, and ships designed for peaceful commerce were transformed into instruments of war. The aliens monitor everything we're doing, Ryan explained. Their sensors can detect our ship modifications, but they can't understand why we're mounting industrial equipment instead of proper military weapons. They think we're too primitive to know better. Kate received an update from the outer colonies. New Edinburgh reports they've finished loading their cargo ships with asteroid mining charges. The entire civilian population has volunteered to pilot converted vessels if needed. They say they'd rather die fighting than live under alien occupation. Similar reports came in from human settlements throughout their territory. Colony after colony confirmed they had completed preparations according to protocol chaos. Miners became bomber pilots. Cargo ship captains prepared for ramming attacks, and civilian volunteers trained to use industrial tools as weapons. The aliens have given us 6 hours to witness the end of human resistance, Lisa announced to the assembled officers. They expect this war to last no more than 3 hours once shooting starts. They think our inferior technology and chaotic organization make victory impossible. She looked around the room at faces that showed fear mixed with stubborn determination. They're probably right about our technology. They definitely have superior weapons, better armor, and more advanced tactical systems. But they've made one crucial mistake. What's that? Ben asked. Lisa smiled grimly as she looked at the displays showing human preparations across dozens of star systems. They assume we'll fight their kind of war. They expect formations, honor codes, and civilized military doctrine. Instead, they're about to face something their perfect battle computers never calculated. The countdown timer on the main display showed less than 18 hours until the alien ultimatum expired. Throughout human space, converted civilian ships moved toward battle positions while their crews prepared to prove that sometimes the most primitive tactics could defeat the most advanced technology. The alien armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system in perfect formation. their ships arranged in geometric patterns that had been used successfully for thousands of years. General Kreck stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as 50,000 vessels took their positions with mathematical precision. Each ship knew exactly where to be, exactly when to fire, and exactly how the battle would proceed. War Prophet Zal floated beside him, her ethereal form pulsing with the collective consciousness of the Luminari Battle Meditation Network. Through her species' mystical abilities, she could sense the flow of combat before it began, predicting enemy movements and calculating optimal strategies. The humans have scattered their forces across 7 different orbital positions, Zal reported, her voice carrying the certainty of prophecy. They show no unified command structure, no coordinated battle plan. Their ships drift in seemingly random patterns around their colonies. Kreck studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. Human vessels appeared exactly as his intelligence reports had predicted, crude, disorganized, and obviously terrified. Most were hiding behind asteroids or floating near space stations like lost children seeking protection. Begin the first wave assault, Krex commanded. Target their largest vessels first. Once we eliminate their command ships, the remaining forces will surrender or flee. 3,000 alien warships moved forward in perfect synchronized formation, their energy weapons charging, and shields glowing with contained power. The first human system would fall within minutes, establishing the pattern for quick victory throughout human space. Commander Scott Davis piloted his converted mining scout ship from behind a large asteroid, watching the alien advance through sensors that had been designed to locate mineral deposits. His vessel looked like space junk compared to the gleaming alien warships, but that was exactly what he had hoped for. All human vessels. This is Command 1, Scott transmitted on the emergency frequency. Protocol Chaos is now active. Remember, we don't fight their war. We fight ours. The alien fleet expected human ships to emerge from hiding and engage in traditional space combat. Instead, Scott accelerated his small vessel directly toward the alien formation at maximum speed, ignoring their warning shots and demands for surrender. The aliens watched in confusion as the tiny human ship approached their battle line without firing a single weapon. Their sensors detected no threat from such a primitive vessel, so they focused their attention on larger human ships that might pose actual danger. Scott smiled grimly as his ship passed through the alien formation's outer edge. His vessel carried no weapons at all, but its cargo hold was filled with 20 tons of high-explosive mining charges set to detonate on impact. He aimed directly for the largest alien command ship and prepared for the collision that would end his life. The explosion lit up space as Scott's mining vessel struck the alien flagship's bridge section. The enemy ship's shields had been designed to deflect energy weapons and projectiles, but they couldn't stop a suicide ramming attack. The alien command vessel split in half, taking 300 crew members and their formation commander into the void. Captain Tony Lee watched Scott's sacrifice from his position near the outer asteroids, feeling a mixture of grief and determination. His own ship was a converted cargo hauler loaded with nuclear mining charges, and he had volunteered for the same mission that Scott had just completed. That's how we do it, Tony whispered to himself as he accelerated toward the alien fleet. One human ship, one alien target. Make every death count. The aliens were still trying to understand what had happened to their command vessel when Tony's ship struck a luminary cruiser, its nuclear payload detonating inside the enemy hull. The explosion destroyed not only Tony's target, but damaged 3 other alien ships caught in the blast radius. Major Kelly, White led a squadron of converted fighters that had been hiding among the asteroid field's smaller rocks. Her pilots were all former civilian miners who had learned to navigate through dangerous debris fields, skills that translated perfectly to combat in space. Ghost Squadron, follow my lead, Kelly transmitted as she guided her fighter through the asteroid field. Ignore their main fleet. Hit their supply ships and communication relays. The alien formation was designed to protect their most important vessels, but that protection focused forward, where they expected human attacks to come from. Kelly's squadron approached from behind and above, using the asteroids as cover, while they targeted the support vessels that kept the alien fleet operational. Her fighters carried no sophisticated weapons, just modified mining lasers and explosive charges, but they struck targets the aliens hadn't expected anyone to threaten. Communication ships, supply vessels, and medical support craft exploded as Kelly's pilots proved that sometimes the best military Strategy was to ignore military targets entirely. The alien fleet began to experience something they had never encountered in thousands of years of civilized warfare. Their perfect formation started to break apart as ships tried to respond to attacks coming from impossible directions. Vessels that should have been invulnerable found themselves destroyed by enemies they hadn't even considered threats. Sergeant Paul Johnson floated in what appeared to be the wreckage of a destroyed human ship, wearing a spacesuit and playing dead while alien rescue vessels approached. His transport had indeed been destroyed, but Paul and his boarding team had survived in an armored section that looked like scattered debris. When an alien medical ship came close enough to investigate the wreckage, Paul and his men used industrial cutting torches to burn through its hull. The aliens inside had never faced boarding attacks because civilized species didn't conduct such barbaric warfare tactics. Secure the bridge, Paul ordered his men as they fought their way through corridors filled with panicked alien crew members. These medical officers don't know how to fight. Take their ship and use it against their own fleet. Within minutes, Paul's team had captured an advanced alien vessel from the inside, something their enemies' tactical computers had calculated as completely impossible. They turned the medical ship's own weapons against nearby alien vessels while broadcasting human surrender messages to confuse the enemy fleet. War Prophet. Zale tried desperately to maintain her battle meditation, but the pattern she saw made no sense. Human attacks came from directions that violated all military logic, using tactics that no civilized species would ever employ. They fight like wild animals, she reported to General Krex. No formation discipline, no honor codes, no regard for their own lives. Our battle site cannot predict their movements because they follow no rational pattern. The first hour of combat was supposed to result in complete human defeat. Instead, the alien fleet had lost over 200 ships to an enemy that refused to fight according to the established rules of galactic warfare. The alien fleet was no longer the perfect military formation that had entered human space 4 hours earlier. Ships drifted out of position as commanders struggled to respond to attacks that came from every direction, except where they expected them. General Krex watched his tactical displays with growing frustration as another section of his fleet reported casualties from impossible human tactics. They're using industrial equipment as weapons, reported Admiral Vex of the Aquatic Confederation, his forearms gesturing frantically at his command console. Our sensors detect mining lasers, cargo manipulators, and asteroid processing equipment. How can primitive tools destroy our advanced warships? War Prophet Zal's ethereal form flickered with uncertainty as her battle meditation encountered patterns that defied all logical prediction. The humans do not fight to win territory or achieve military objectives. They fight to cause maximum damage regardless of cost. Our calculations cannot account for such irrational behavior. Captain Chris Brown guided his flotilla of converted mining vessels through the outer edges of the alien formation, using equipment designed for asteroid processing to tear apart enemy ships. His fleet consisted of deep space mining platforms that had been hastily converted for combat, each one carrying industrial tools that the aliens had dismissed as harmless. Target their engine sections, Chris ordered over the communications channel. Use the gravity manipulators just like we're breaking up asteroids for processing. The mining vessels activated their gravity manipulation systems, technology designed to move massive chunks of space rock during extraction operations. When focused on alien ships, the same equipment created artificial gravitational fields that crushed enemy hulls like tin cans or pulled vessels apart at their structural weak points. The aliens watched in horror as their advanced armor plating bent and twisted under gravitational forces they had never encountered in combat. Energy shields designed to deflect weapons proved useless against gravity manipulation, while their own ship systems failed under stresses no military engineer had anticipated. Dr. Susan Martinez broadcast from her hidden research station on the edge of the battle zone, coordinating human forces while analyzing alien responses to their unconventional tactics. Her scientific background had made her invaluable in understanding how to exploit weaknesses in alien technology and psychology. All human vessels. This is Research Command, Susan transmitted on the emergency frequency. The aliens are trying to reform their battle lines using standard military doctrine. Hit them during formation changes when their ships are most vulnerable to individual attacks. She had spent the past 3 hours studying alien fleet movements, identifying patterns in their attempts to counter human tactics. Every time the alien commanders tried to establish organized defensive positions, human forces would strike at ships moving between formations, catching them isolated and unable to receive support. Commander Helen Davis led a group of damaged human vessels that appeared to be retreating from the battle zone. Her ships showed signs of severe damage, with hull breaches and failing life support systems that made them seem like easy targets for alien pursuit forces. The aliens took the bait exactly as Helen had hoped. 3 squadrons of enemy fighters broke formation to pursue what they believed were fleeing human survivors, following standard military doctrine that called for eliminating retreating forces before they could regroup. "Wait until they're committed to the pursuit," Helen ordered her pilots. "Let them think they're chasing helpless prey." When the alien fighters moved close enough to finish off the apparently crippled human ships, Helen revealed her trap. The damage to her vessels was real, but each ship's cargo hold was filled with explosive mining charges set to detonate on command. "All ships, execute Broken Wing Protocol," Helen transmitted calmly. "See you on the other side." The explosions lit up space as Helen's entire flotilla detonated simultaneously, taking all 3 alien pursuit squadrons with them in a massive fireball that could be seen from the other side of the star system. Over 200 alien fighters vanished in an instant, destroyed by an enemy that had turned their own retreat into a weapon. Sergeant Paul Johnson had successfully captured an alien medical vessel and was using it to move freely through the enemy fleet. The alien's own identification systems registered his stolen ship as friendly, allowing him to approach high-value targets without triggering defensive responses. "Medical priority override," Paul transmitted on alien communication channels, using recordings they had captured from enemy crew members. "Emergency assistance required at coordinate 77 Alpha." An alien command ship responded to the fake medical emergency, lowering its shields to allow Paul's captured vessel to dock for what they believed was a rescue mission. Instead, Paul and his boarding team emerged with industrial cutting equipment and began fighting their way toward the enemy bridge. The alien crew had never trained for internal combat, because civilized warfare didn't include boarding actions. Their advanced weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not close-quarters fighting in narrow corridors where human adaptability and desperation gave them every advantage. "Secure the navigation system," Paul ordered as his team fought through the alien ship's corridors. "We're going to use their own vessel to ram their flagship." Lieutenant Nancy Clark coordinated kamikaze attacks from her position aboard one of humanity's last operational command ships. Her job was to identify alien vessels that posed the greatest threat and direct human pilots willing to sacrifice their lives to eliminate those targets. Priority. "Target is the Luminary battle meditation ship," Nancy announced to the volunteer pilots. "Their war prophet is coordinating alien fleet movements. Take her out and their formation discipline collapses completely." 3 human pilots volunteered immediately for the suicide mission, guiding their damaged ships through the alien defensive perimeter while dodging energy weapons and missile attacks. 2 of them died before reaching their target, but the 3rd pilot managed to ram directly into the luminary vessel's meditation chamber. War prophet Zal's mystical connection to the alien fleet died with her, leaving thousands of ships without the psychic coordination they had relied on for millennia. The alien formation began to fragment as individual commanders lost the collective consciousness that had guided their tactical decisions. The battle that was supposed to end in 3 hours had now lasted over 5 hours, with alien losses mounting toward 15,000 ships. The humans were down to fewer than 100 operational vessels, but every ship they lost took multiple alien vessels with them, through tactics no civilized military had ever encountered. General Krex realized that his perfect fleet was being torn apart by an enemy that refused to fight, according to any rational military doctrine, and the worst part was that the humans seemed to be winning through sheer chaotic determination. General Krex stared at his tactical displays in disbelief as casualty reports continued flooding in from across his fragmenting fleet. The greatest military armada in galactic history was being destroyed by an enemy that possessed no advanced technology, no organized strategy, and no apparent regard for the established rules of civilized warfare. "Sir, we've lost over 35,000 vessels," reported his communications officer, her voice trembling with shock. "The remaining fleet commanders are requesting permission to withdraw from combat." They say continuing this battle will result in total fleet annihilation. Krex's reptilian features twisted, with rage and confusion as he watched human ships continue their relentless attacks. Despite being outnumbered by hundreds to one, every tactical doctrine he had learned over decades of military service proved useless against an enemy that fought like cornered animals instead of rational beings. How many human vessels remain operational? Krex demanded. Our best estimate is fewer than 50 ships, sir, but they continue attacking as if they commanded the largest fleet in the sector. Their behavior makes no tactical sense. Admiral Vex of the Aquatic Confederation appeared on the communications screen, his normally composed demeanor replaced by barely controlled panic. General, my forces have lost 80% of their strength to human ramming attacks and boarding actions. These humans fight like demons who care nothing for their own survival. Similar reports came in from commanders throughout the alien fleet. The insectoid hive speaker reported that human fighters were using swarm tactics learned from studying alien biology, while the crystalline architects complained that humans were using their own harmonic frequencies against them as sonic weapons. Captain Jack Wilson piloted the last operational human dreadnought through the chaos of the battle zone, his ship's armor plates hanging loose and life support systems failing throughout multiple sections. The vessel had started the war as humanity's most powerful warship, but now it barely qualified as space-worthy. All sections report battle damage, his executive officer announced over the failing intercom system. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. Main weapons offline, emergency power only. Jack looked around his bridge at the crew members who remained at their stations despite knowing they would probably die in the next few minutes. These men and women had volunteered to fight against impossible odds, and they had never once suggested surrender or retreat. Set course for the alien flagship, Jack ordered calmly. Maximum acceleration. Transfer all remaining power to the engines. His crew carried out the order without question, understanding that their captain intended to ram the enemy command vessel in one final act of defiance. The ship's engines roared to life as they began their last charge toward General Krex's massive flagship. Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessel, Krex's communications officer reported. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it through, Krex commanded, curious to hear what the humans would say in their final moments. Jack's image appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet as he spoke from his damaged bridge. This is Captain Jack Wilson of the Earth Defense Force commanding the Dreadnought Liberty. General Krex, you wanted to see how humans fight when we're cornered and outgunned. The alien commanders listened in fascination as Jack continued his broadcast while his ship accelerated toward certain destruction. You brought 50,000 ships to crush 800 human vessels. You expected us to surrender or die quietly according to your civilized rules of warfare. Jack's ship shuddered under enemy fire as alien weapons tried to stop his approach, but the human captain never wavered from his collision course. You were wrong about everything. We don't fight to look honorable. We don't follow your tactical doctrines. We don't surrender just because the odds are impossible. We fight to win no matter what it costs. We fight until the last ship is destroyed and the last human is dead. That's how we've always fought, and that's how we always will fight. The Liberty struck Krex's flagship directly amidships, its hull loaded with every explosive device the crew could gather during their final approach. The massive detonation split the alien command ship in half, killing General Krex and his entire command staff in an instant. Lieutenant Nancy Clark watched, Jack's sacrifice from her position aboard one of the few remaining human vessels scattered throughout the battle zone. As the senior surviving officer, command of human forces had fallen to her by default. Though she commanded fewer than 30 operational ships, all human vessels. This is Acting Admiral Clark, she transmitted to the survivors. Captain Wilson showed them what happens when you threaten humanity. Now we finish what we started. The remaining human ships launched their final attacks against an alien fleet that had completely lost its command structure and tactical coordination. Without General Krex's leadership and War Prophet Zal's battle meditation, the alien forces had devolved into individual ships fleeing in different directions. Some alien commanders attempted to rally their forces for one last organized assault, but human ships struck them during their formation attempts, using the same chaotic tactics that had worked throughout the battle. Every time the aliens tried to establish order, human attacks would disrupt their efforts and force them back into defensive positions. Admiral Vex finally transmitted a fleet-wide message that ended the battle. All Council forces, this is Admiral Vex assuming emergency command. Implement immediate tactical withdrawal from human space. Repeat, all vessels withdraw immediately. The surviving alien ships began jumping to hyperspace as quickly as their engines could manage, abandoning the battle zone and leaving behind the wreckage of what had been the most powerful military force in galactic history. Nancy Clark transmitted the victory message to all human colonies throughout their territory. This is Acting Admiral Clark reporting to all human settlements. The alien fleet has withdrawn from our space. The Council's great armada has been defeated. She paused as she looked at the tactical display showing the aftermath of the battle. Thousands of destroyed ships floated in the void, most of them bearing alien designs, while fewer than 20 human vessels remained capable of flight. The Council predicted our defeat in hours. They were wrong. They brought superior technology, overwhelming numbers, and thousands of years of military experience. But they forgot one important fact about humanity. Nancy's voice carried across human space to colonies that had prepared for extinction just hours earlier. We don't fight fair. We don't follow rules. We don't quit when the odds are impossible. We fight with everything we have until we win, or until there's nothing left of us to fight with. The few surviving human ships began the long journey home, carrying news of a victory that would echo throughout the galaxy for generations. The Galactic Council would eventually declare human space a forbidden zone. Not because they couldn't defeat humanity again, but because the cost of victory would be the complete destruction of civilized warfare itself. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through superior technology or advanced tactics, but through the simple refusal to lose when everything depended on winning.